When traveling from Rotorua to Taupo and the Tongariro National Park, it looks pretty straightforward. But many travelers get this drive completely wrong. They rush through and miss some of the best parts in the North Island. In this video, I'll show you exactly where to stop, what's worth your time, and where best to stay in the Tongariro area. Let's get started. So let's look at the map here from Rotorua right down to the Tongariro National Park. The Google Maps says about 2.5 hours. As usually with Google Maps, you will need to add at least 10-15%, so let's say 3 hours. So before we go into the nitty-gritty of the route, I want to show you a couple of places you might have missed while staying in Rotorua. So just outside Rotorua, 10 minutes outside, we got here quite serious mountain biking. So if you're interested in that, that's a really cool thing to do. Then down here we have the blue and green lake outlook. So this is maybe something you want to incorporate during your stay in Rotorua. But there's another one I want to show you. Just a little bit further is the buried village, which is a very interesting site. Let's have a look at some pictures here. So in 1886 there was a big eruption. Mount 𝗬𝗏𝗯𝗲 erupted and buried basically a Maori village here, a settlement. So it's very interesting to see the impact on what that had to that environment in the Rotorua area. So as you can see, unfortunately, there's no direct route connection between the buried village and the main road. So let's head further south. So the next stop is very close by to Lake Tarawera and Lake Rotomahana. So here we're heading actually to the Waimangu volcanic valley. This is really one of my favorite spots here in the area. So at Waimangu volcanic valley, this gives you the opportunity to actually do a walk in the valley, in the volcanic valley, and also do a lake cruise on Lake Rotomahana. Let's have a closer look at that. So this is called the full Waimangu experience. One of those trips I recommend to my guests all the time. You have to calculate all up about 3-4 hours. It's about 30 minutes from Rotorua south, and you can easily incorporate it if you get the timing right in the morning to actually do this first. So you arrive from Rotorua in the morning, then head down to Waimangu, and they have dedicated time. As you can see here, you have 9:30, 11 o'clock, etc. And what you do a self-guided walk, and then you do a boat cruise. Let's have a look at the specifics here with some maps. So they have that quite nicely laid out here, so you can see it starts at the information center and then you head down, and there's all these beautiful spots. There's all sorts of color shades, etc., etc. And then you come actually out onto the lake, and from here there's a small cruise and you go out into the lake. This needs to be pre-booked, so I'll put all the details in the description box below for you to check out. But this is an amazing trip. There's also a bus service available for people which can't do all the walking, so check that out. Again, link in the description box below. So with the next stop, most tourists really drive by. It's called Kerosene Creek. So this is basically middle in the bush. It's completely without facilities, so it's free and you can jump into the pools here. It's about 38 degrees warm, so it's perfect. So bring your talks, bring your towel. There's nothing provided. There's a car park there, but that's pretty much it. So Kerosene Creek is one of these places you want to stop as well. The next stop is also very close by. It's Waiotapu and the Lady Knox Geyser. So they're both connected with each other. So what's happening is this. So the Lady Knox Geyser is activated every morning at 10:15 with soap. Yes, with soap. So they break the surface pressure of the water, and it goes around about 10 to 20 meters high, and that's obviously a major attraction. So this is one thing you could do in the morning, even before you head down to Waimangu Valley. As you recall, there are certain times to go on that trip. Now, as you see, Waiotapu Thermal Wonderland is very close by. Here is a recommendation. If you've already seen geysers and you just want a bit more peace and quiet, here's my key recommendation. So instead actually going to Lady Knox, go to the Waiotapu area first, because nobody will be there, or very few people will be there, let's say it that way. You will have the place in much more peace and quiet than you would have afterwards, because after Lady Knox, people obviously move over to the Waiotapu, and then you have many more people around and much more noise. So this is quite a pristine experience if you do it this way. If you're around about 10:15 until 11 o'clock, then you can experience Waiotapu more or less on your own. So if you're looking for something a little bit more remote, then I can recommend Korako thermal area. This is about 25 minutes from the main road, but it's really worth it. Let's have a look at it. So this looks pretty much like a moon landscape. Really, it is. It is quite a hidden place, and it's a loop walk. So what you need to do when you arrive, there's a car park, there's an information center, and then you have to cross a little lake to get on the other side, and then you start your loop walk. It's perfectly well signposted, and you basically get back to that information center here, and then you continue your trip. I would recommend to have around about 1-2 hours time to do it, so it's easily done on the way if you're looking for a bit more remote experience in a really moonlight landscape. Korako. But wait, we're only halfway through this route. The next section includes one of New Zealand's most iconic landmarks. If you find this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button below to stay in touch for more helpful travel videos to come. Also, please tick that little like button below, as it helps our channel to grow. Thank you very much. So this trip to Taupo can be done in a day trip from Rotorua. You're basically heading through pine forest here. There's lots of pine forest here, and you would have gone either directly or through Korako. Hey, by the way, I will list this Google map link in the description box below, so you can easily follow that route. So we're heading now into Wairakei, and Wairakei is quite famous because there's a geothermal power station. You can actually drive through here and check it out, but what I want to highlight here is a couple of places you might be interested in. One of them is the Wairakei Terrace Thermal Health Spa. Let's have a look at that. This is a bit of a different world to what we've seen with the Kerosene Creek. This is very much developed. It's a beautiful place to pop in. It's not huge, but it's kind of lovely setting just outside Taupo. So next door is the Wairakei golf course. That's quite famous here. It's an international course. If you're into golfing, there's also another one at Knox further up here on the Lake Taupo. These are your golfing options here in that region. Another thermal area is called the Craters of the Moon. Let's have a look at that quickly. So this really looks like Craters of the Moon. If you've done the other locations like Waiotapu, Waimangu or Korako, I would not recommend to come here. It's a bit plainer, it's less kind of mind-blowing like the others, so that would be my suggestion. Leave that out and visit the other ones. So on the other side of the main road, you have the Huka Falls jet. So let's have a look at this. So the jet basically goes on the Waikato River. The Waikato River is fed from the Huka Falls. We'll go there next in this video. But this is an exciting adventure for many people. Jet boating obviously is a very iconic thing to do in New Zealand. There are many places in the North and the South Island you could do that. But look at that. Isn't that stunning when the water masses pour down through that narrow gap. Huka Falls jet is really one of my recommendations here to do if you have the time, if you want to have a little bit of fun. Now the next key stop is the Huka Falls. You can actually connect here as a little road along the river more or less. You don't have to go back to the main highway to go to the Huka Falls lookout. So you've got a car park here, and from there you can actually walk right down to the falls. So here's the car park. It's locked after a certain time at night time, so it's not accessible at night, but this is a stunning location. You walk over this bridge, and usually people, let's picture what we've seen with the jet boat before. This was right there. We'll have a look at the picture in a minute again, but what I also want to point out, if you are keen and if you maybe stay long in the area, you can actually walk. Here's a walk directly along the river, the Waikato River, into town, into Taupo. And here we have also one of the famous lodges in New Zealand, Huka Lodge, which is located close by. You can actually sneak look over there if you want to, so the township is not that far away, but just depends what you want. Most people would stop at the car park and then actually hit there's a lookout point here. Let's have a look at that. So this is actually looking towards Huka Lodge. Huka Lodge is where the pine trees are in the distance, and this is what people look through. Here's obviously a bit of an explanation, Huka Fold. So this is the walk towards the viewpoint, so it's very well signposted, and this is the stunning view when you actually look back towards Huka Lodge and you get that fall. It's about 220,000 liters of water every minute. So this is huge. Now, before we go to the next leg of the journey towards the Tongariro National Park, here's a couple of thoughts. So if you want to do a day trip to Taupo, this is perfectly fine from Rotorua. If you want to go all the way to the Tongariro National Park and do some hiking, my recommendation would be to stay a couple of nights in the Tongariro region. I'll talk about that in a minute. So it's a little bit too long. It's about 3.5 hours one way. So here we have Lake Taupo. Lake Taupo is New Zealand's largest lake, and you follow the road here. Keep in mind, Lake Taupo is not too far off the size of Singapore. So it's a big lake. It's New Zealand's biggest, and it was created through a volcanic eruption. So you're basically following here SH1, State Highway 1. What I want to touch in this video really is the best places to stay. I will do another video on the Tongariro walking options. So not only the crossing, because there's actually more than just a crossing. There are other walks which are totally underrated. One option is obviously you could stay in Tongariro up here, which is just the southern part of Lake Taupo. This is famous for fly fishing, brown trout and rainbow trout, so if anybody is interested in that. But if you're really into the hiking, and most people would come for the hiking, my suggestions are these. So in general, what you want to do the hike from 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Road, and then you're actually finishing up here in the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 area in the northern part of the Tongariro. It's just a little bit of information first. So this is the area if you want to do the hiking part. So where to stay? You could stay here in Waimangu, which is also called National Park Village. It's around about 200 people living here, so it's very small. The next option is not far away from National Park Village, is 𝗥𝗲𝗶𝗃 Village. The advantage of this one is you're right in the park and you do some other walks like to the Tama Lake or to the southern part of the park, but I don't want to go into that in this video. So there's 1 or 2 places you can stay. There's also the Department of Conservation Information Center in 𝗥𝗲𝗶𝗃 Village. Now, if you want to go a little bit further south, there's a number of options here in Horopito. There's a lovely cottage, 𝗦𝗧𝘂𝗁𝗃 cottage. There's some other smaller places. Depends what your budget is, how much you want to spend, but this is an option. It's not too far away. The largest place really where most people would stay here is in the southern end in Ohakune. Many more facilities like hotels, motels, restaurants, and so on. Keep in mind, from Ohakune going up to the starting point, 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Road, it's around about 35-40 minutes drive, so you need to keep that in mind. Just one final thought here. The connection between the northern and the southern part of the Tongariro crossing is quite important. So there's actually some shuttle operators, either from National Park Village down here or from Ohakune. They will drop you off at 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 and then pick you up again in the evening, late afternoon from the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 car park. You have to calculate it's about 20 kilometers walking. It's around about 7 to 9 hours. So this is a serious walk, but I will do yet another video on this one because this is a really good one. If you want to see how this route fits into an overall North Island itinerary, check out my 10-day North Island video up here. It's also linked in the description box below. Thanks very much for watching, folks. See you in the next video.